And how about this? We've got a face-to-face with the man who just reshaped the race for president and the GOP nomination, to be sure. Texas Governor Rick Perry spoke one-on-one with our own Carl Cameron just a few minutes ago. We're just starting to get the tape in. His first interview it was since he officially threw his hat in the ring for 2012 after resisting the idea for some time. He did announce his bid for the Republican presidential nomination. Carl joins us now from Des Moines, Iowa. Hey, Carl.
Hi, Martha. It's nice to see you back.
Thank you. Good to be here, sir.
100 years for the Iowa State Fair. Thank you. 100 years for the Iowa State Fair, and today the new presidential candidate will make his debut here and presumably eat some deep-fried food on a stick. Rick Perry's in the race. Last night he was in Waterloo, Iowa. That's the home of Michelle Bachmann. The Minnesota congresswoman was one of the speakers at a Black Hawk County dinner last night, and she got a rousing welcome at her entrance, but it came a little bit late in the program, and there was some dissent from supporters and Bachmann fans who thought that she might have been there a little bit earlier. Before she spoke, the Texas Governor Rick Perry gave his very first speech in Iowa, and he was clearly comfortable on the stage, spent a good hour shaking hands with Iowa caucus goers, introducing himself. And he stayed to listen to Michelle Bachmann's speech. Michelle Bachmann made no mention of Rick Perry's presence, and to some in Iowa, particularly in Waterloo, her hometown, they thought that she might have been a bit more courteous in welcoming him not only to her hometown but to the state, and she did neither. This morning, we did have a lengthy discussion with Rick Perry here in Des Moines. He's going to be at the State Fair in a matter of moments, and I asked him a little bit about Michelle Bachmann, one of his key rivals, and he acknowledged that he might have liked to meet her last night. Listen to this. Tell me a little bit about Michelle Bachmann. What do you think?
I think she is a ball of fire for one thing. And, last night I got to see, I've never met her before, so we didn't get the chance to shake hands. She came in after we'd been there for about an hour and a half. But anyway, we'll meet and we'll have a good chance to shake and howdy, and I'll get to know her even better.
In the context of presidential politics among the Republicans, in terms of their desire to oust President Obama and the myriad of complex problems that challenge the country and the world, it may seem small that there was not a handshake or a moment between Michelle Bachmann last night in Black Hawk County. But here in Iowa, where caucus politics is very complex in itself, folks expect the candidates to be cordial. They expect them to fight, but there's certain work that they expect them to do, like spend time with the voters and shake hands, etc. There was criticism of Michelle Bachmann last night that even in her hometown, she stuck to a very disciplined campaign approach that sometimes keeps her insulated from the public. In our discussions with Rick Perry today, we also talked about how he feels about Mitt Romney, the national frontrunner in the race. Many people think that this is going to be a two-man battle between the current Texas governor and the former Massachusetts governor. Mr. Perry said that there are certainly some differences, and he said, take a look at our records, particularly on jobs. Rick Perry and the state of Texas was responsible for 40% of the job growth last year in the country itself. And many have pointed out that when Mitt Romney was the governor of Massachusetts, there were times when job creation was quite far back, at one point in the more than 40th in the country. So Perry has already begun to contrast himself and distinguish himself from his rivals. We'll show you bits and pieces of this interview. There's some fascinating material in it. He talks about his relationship with George W. Bush, the former president and former Texas governor, his predecessor as the chief executive of the Lone Star State. And he makes the point that while George W. Bush went to Yale, he went to Texas A&M, and he's an Aggie and not a carbon copy, and that not all Texans are the same, and he drew distinctions with the former president. He talked at length about President Obama and told us today that he intends to make a loud call here at the straw poll for a moratorium on regulations. He suggested that President Obama lacks the support and confidence of the military as the commander-in-chief. Tough stuff. We'll show it to you as the day unfolds here at the fair, Martha.
Boy, that is all good information to get from Rick Perry. It's going to be very interesting. A lot of folks would say he's going to have to beat Michelle Bachmann on her own home turf there in Iowa if he wants to get that kind of momentum to move forward and then take on Mitt Romney in New Hampshire and then on to South Carolina. So we will see. This is getting fun, getting exciting, and it's always good to see Carl Cameron out there in Des Moines. That means things are fired up. Thank you, Carl.